Welcome to Policing TV. Each week, we will explore the highlights from our latest videos, diving into topics like AI, technology, drugs, and the people shaping the future of policing. We started with Brendan O'Brien from Blue Light Consulting, talking to former Chief Superintendent Raj Kohli from the Metropolitan Police. They discussed the importance of retention in policing, highlighting Raj's innovative approach to recognising and celebrating police officers' achievements.
I'm Brendan from Blue Light, and ordinarily I'm helping people, supporting people to succeed in the recruitment process, in promotion boards. But today I'm here on behalf of Policing TV to talk about a really thorny issue in policing, retention. And I'm absolutely delighted that we've got former Chief Superintendent from the Metropolitan Police in Hampshire and Isle of Wight, Raj Kohli, here today, who's going to share something that he's really proud of in respect of what worked in retaining police officers. And hang around to the very end, because at the very end of this, we're going to talk about three simple things that you can do to improve retention if you're a leader within the police service. So let's dive in. Raj, first of all, a little introduction from yourself.
Well, Brendan, good morning. Always great to spend some time with you. A little introduction for myself. I was in policing for 31 years, joined in 1992. And when I first joined, I had a broad Glasgow accent, and the locals thought I was a Billy Connolly with a turban on. I wish I was nearly as funny as him, but I wasn't. So 29 years in the Met, been a detective, I've run crime squads. I think, if I'm honest, my heart was always around uniform policing, community engagement, and really getting in and amongst the public that we serve. Because the clue's in the phrase, public servant. And to go in amongst the public that you serve, to really truly hear from them what is actually happening, and to become a bit of a local champion. I had an advantage, a vague Glasgow accent, turban and beard, so wherever I went, people remembered me. But that still does take effort. 31 years of policing. Last two in Hampshire and Isle of Wight. Retired exactly 2 years ago. Then some weeks later, Brendan, you contacted me and suggested joining Blue Light. And I know we're going to talk about the proudest moment in policing, but the best decision I ever made was to come and work with you, Brendan. So, and it's been brilliant working with you. You got a different perspective on policing, and I really admire and like that. And then you've created a fantastic team of coaches and support staff. It's been probably the best working environment I've been in for a long time. So, thank you.
Well, Raj, on the topic of that then, I know there's having spoken to you for, a long time about all sorts of different policing moments over the past, I think we've known each other for about 15 years now, something like that, 13, 15 years.
Yeah.
There's one specific thing that really caught my eye that you used to do when you were serving Chief Superintendent in the Metropolitan Police. And it caught my eye because I remember thinking, I'm not seeing anyone else do this. So let's dive into that one specific proud thing that you did. And I'll just give you a clue just to jog your memory. You posted it on Twitter. Like almost every other day there was a post on Twitter. So tell me about that proud moment in policing, the thing that you used to do that would help retain your police officers.
Well, thank you. I'll give you some history around all of this. I always felt that the BCU commander, the Chief Superintendent, should be acknowledging people passing their probation. My view is that piece of paper is the single most important piece of paper a police officer and police staff, but we're talking about police officers here predominantly, will ever receive in their service. They're not driving that car fast. They're not using that taser tool. They're not using a firearm until they've got that certificate of confirmation in the rank. And yes, over the years, it might make its way from the wall to the cupboard, into the garage, from the garage into the loft. But that does not, should not ever downplay its importance. So having said that to my resources people, they said, okay, we'll factor out some time for you to speak to officers directly. And I toyed with the idea of celebrating that in front of their colleagues, so at parades and all that. But that never really quite worked for me. And the other thing was they wanted me to hand over a piece of paper. And I said, I'm not handing over a piece of paper. We will buy frames. Yes, I know this frame will eventually end up in a loft, but that is your most important document of your whole life.
Next up was Andrew Watson, who shared his extensive experience in the ICT and policing sectors. He discussed the challenges of adapting to different policing cultures, insights into the similarities and differences in policing across various countries, and the impact of technology on law enforcement. Here he discusses the impact of July 7th on his career.
Looking back on that experience, what are the most memorable occasions that you can recall? Most enjoyable, perhaps, most challenging, whether personally or professionally?
I suppose, given where we are in the year, the first one certainly wasn't enjoyable, but you just reflect back 2 days to 7/7. I was only a year into being CIO at the Transport Police, and that was a day that every year causes a huge amount of reflection, and you suddenly realise the requirements that the front line really has, and also the ability of the front line to just scale up and step up when something like that happens. And it was a humbling experience to be around that, and to then years later move on and work for the ambulance service with people who were there that day as well and see it from a slightly different angle. Yeah, that certainly is probably one of the most memorable things we did. I'm having a bit of enjoyment at the moment. I'm working with the police force at the moment, helping them with their mobile data programme, and I discovered recently their mobile data advisor, or their mobile data project lead, wasn't actually born when I first rolled out mobile data in Transport Police. And I thought, yeah, okay, that puts an age perspective on my experience here.
Also illustrates the wealth of experience that you have. I'm just going to come back to 7/7 because, of course, as we record this, 2 days ago marked the 20th anniversary of the London tube train, 3 tube trains and a bus bombing, where the British Transport Police, responsible across the UK for the transport system, would have played a key role in the response. So quite an occasion, the 20th anniversary marked appropriately.
Lastly, we covered Rachel Tuffin, who discussed the efforts of the Centre for Police Productivity at the UK's College of Policing to consolidate research findings and implement effective policing strategies across England and Wales. Rachel also highlights the lack of systematic approaches in other jurisdictions and invites international collaboration.
Rachel, today, hoping to hear from you about how the college is helping to bring the research work and findings into one place as far as England and Wales is concerned, so that it makes it easier to learn from the multiple police pieces of research that are going on across the country. So please do take us through that.
I will. Thanks very much, Bernard. So, yeah, we've done a couple of things already. So we've got our What Works Crime Reduction Toolkit, and we've got our practice bank. So sharing what works in reducing crime and sharing ideas from all sorts of police forces, good things that they've done, over 200 of those on the practice bank. But what we've been focused on in the Centre for Police Productivity, which is my role at the moment, is how you get stuff implemented on the ground. And actually that then gets us into this idea of how do we get a better pipeline to get all the way from spotting the idea all the way through to actually getting something implemented. And some things get lost in the valley of death, as people call it in innovation world. So they get so far, maybe a couple of people test them and then nothing happens. So what we've been trying to do centrally is really work together in England and Wales as all of the organisations who can help with this. So We're helping spot innovation, but also spotting innovation is the Office of the Police Chief Scientific Advisor, which we have in England and Wales, and our National Police Chiefs Council coordination committee. So there's one, a new one, relatively new, for science and innovation, and we've also got one for digital and data. And then the Home Office too, of course, and the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners also have the capacity to do that. So lots of sharing and lots of trying to bring all that together. So we've got all these fantastic, we've got all these innovation examples. Then what next? So we're collaborating to put together a sort of SIFT process where we work out which ones of all of these could be really good to roll out eventually nationally, because sometimes they might be local innovations, sometimes they might be really well suited to a later rollout. And how are we going to know? So that's when we try and put in place in evaluation, spot the ones that look good, find some funds from the various different routes to get those evaluated. And we support that, help to spot which ones need evaluation, because that's one of our things, and what design you could use and so forth. And then the final bit, of course, is like, okay, we've evaluated it, looks really good, looks like it should be rolled out nationally, and then what do you do? Well, then you need implementation support, and there's various different organisations that can provide that. We're doing it obviously on the productivity ones, and what I'll do in some of the discussions we're going to have is say a little bit more about that. So the spotting and sharing, the evaluating, and then how you go about supporting implementation, because obviously forces have only got so much change bandwidth, and it makes sense for the centre to try and help with that.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week.